Ladies and gentlemen, friends, new listeners, and old listeners, this is episode 32 of Eastern Bound. Of course, this is BFC, and joining me as always is the Mad Korean and Dr. Shinji Munsa. Say hello, guys.
Hello, this is the Mad Korean.
Hello, this is Shinji Munsa.
Okay, so today we're actually going to be talking a little bit about Francesca Hong. Now, yes, we're going to be talking about, I guess, domestic American politics, but this actually has a lot of implications beyond simply just American politics.
Yeah, man, it's like an umbrella topic because there's so many subcategories underneath
Yeah.
it.
So for those who don't know, Francesca Hong is this Korean American woman who's actually running for governor of Wisconsin, and she's running actually under the Democratic Socialist ticket, not too dissimilar
DSA.
from people like AOC or Zoran Mamdani, but she really has been, her campaign's been kind of imploding as of the past couple of days
Yeah,
because
I've
of
never
multiple
even heard of
statements
her. She just came up,
she's
but
made.
she's blowing up all over my
Mhm.
feed now. So,
I think I saw that, what is it? Hassan Piker actually visited her like not too long ago too, but her campaign is pretty much imploding because of a bunch of statements she's made about Thanksgiving, about her white husband and their biracial child. And let's just jump right into it. So
mhm.
the first line item here is, yes, about her biracial family life. And basically she talks about how her son, she phrases it so bizarrely. She talks about how her son has like this proximity to whiteness, and she originally tries to avoid talking about her husband, but she eventually mentions that, oh yeah, I have a white husband, and she frames it as this in the context of, oh, this is actually, I did it because I wanted to assimilate. And I don't know, my first reaction was, if I was a husband, I would be pissed. You
If I
know?
was the kid, the kid, in my opinion, a lot of people have commented this, and I don't like talking trash about kids or whatever. And it's not that. I'm just pointing out that it's looking like this kid's going to grow up pretty, with some severe identity issues. you know, and at the very least, this is kind of backed by studies. If you've seen my posts on Twitter, I found this one study by UC Davis. I don't remember the exact date, but it was a while ago. It was like 2008, between 2008 to 2012, I believe it was published. And it showed that 1/3 of mixed race Asians have mental illness. And this is usually
Mm,
due to severe identity issues. And if you look at Elliot Rogers, the mass shooter, I'm pretty sure a lot of people are familiar with
yeah,
that
the
name.
incel.
And keep in mind, guys, I just recently read this. Less than a year ago, I had no idea about his manifesto, but he specifically states that he had grown up feeling that his Asian part made him less in society. And so when he saw this one Korean guy with a white girl, he completely snapped. He tried to get in a fight with him, but he ended up humiliating himself. The next day, he grabbed the gun and did what he did. And it's like what he had just said right there, it's a repeated thing because even Sneeko, who's half Filipino and along with other stuff, said the exact same thing. He said it repeatedly on his podcast, and I have seen it play out. Like I mentioned a boxing gym I used to go to, and one of the youngest trainers there, he was the boss's son. He was a half white Filipino, and his father was a sexpat. His mother
Oof.
was probably a teenage prostitute. He was raised with his grandma, and he grew up very white, and he has severe identity issues.
Yeah, it's a whole other world for them over there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It's just so bizarre listening to this, and it kind of just goes to show, like, why can't people just be normal talking about this subject? Like, why can't you just talk about your family life normally?
I think she basically tries to. I think why people are disgusted by Francesca Hong is because she basically sees relationships not through love, but they're transactional essentially.
Yeah.
Transactional as in she believes that, by marrying a white man, she can, climb up the ladder, the social ladder in white American society. And at the same time, so like I have a Chinese American friend. He's originally from New York City, but he lives in Texas now. His sister, his older sister, she's like 9 years older than him, and she married basically this white American dude in Florida because they were in the U.S. Army, right, in Pensacola. And, my friends looked into all this WAMF dynamics and crap and stuff. And although it can't be generalized for all WMAF couples, what he's identified is that there is a small subset of these people where the Asian woman specifically thinks that she can be a replacement for a white Anglo-Saxon woman. And that's one of the reasons why they hate on white people, specifically white women, more so than white men.
You
And,
really see this among, like, leftist
It's
Asian
always
women
with
who
yes.
the
date
leftists
white
too.
men.
Hmm.
I mean, that's why there's that
100%.
famous meme phrase, woke on the streets, colonized under the sheets. I think Kang Min Lee always brings that up. He's his own
Yeah.
problem, but, that's actually quite right, you know?
It's
Woke on
true.
the streets, colonized under the sheets, every single bloody
And
fucking time.
it's all just, like, so bizarre how they talk about it too. Like, for example, they come up with, like, all kinds of cope, uh, to justify or they just bring this up unsolicited. Like, how many articles are there about, like, my white boyfriend, my white
Eh,
this, my white
Well,
that?
here's the thing, man. Like, normally, dude, I don't care. I already explained my position
Neither do
on like
I.
interracial, but I guess my issue is like when you have someone going around saying that so and so, this group of people is colonized, and if you don't believe what I believe, then you're a white man bootlicker, you're a white man dick sucker, all that type of shit. If you're talking like that, and you
The
have a
white
white
supremacist.
boyfriend, white husband, then it's a fucking different ball game. That's the only reason why. And it's not misogyny. I get it. Because I've seen these incels, okay? I understand the concern that this whole WMFA, whatever the fuck it's called, right?
WMAF.
It's really just misogyny disguised as a social concern.
A lot
And
of it
2 years
is.
ago, if you would have said that, I would have laughed at your face. But after dealing with these incels for the past 2 years, I actually kind of agree now. I think a lot
I
of this
mean,
shit is
what
misogyny.
the first time we tried our hand at this podcast, it was a Twitter space, an X space,
Hmm.
and suddenly an incel, a Korean American incel, pops in, and I think the topic did start, or it veered into the WMAF dynamic or whatever, and then you had this guy just like constantly droning on, and eventually he's like, "Oh, this is why women shouldn't have the right to vote." We're not going in that direction, okay? This is actually why like we actually kind of hate this topic,
Yeah,
because it gets so tiresome.
it attracts like these really like
It,
I hate to say it, but subhuman, like really
it
really
really does just
disgusting,
attract the
vile
worst people on
people.
both sides.
I
Yeah,
mean,
you
if
know.
I were to give you guys a real life perspective, because look, I grew up in New Zealand for the first 20 years of my life.
Mm.
And then I moved to Australia about, 13 to 15 years ago. And when I was growing up in New Zealand, no one actually ever talked about AMWF and WMAF. People just dated whoever they, aligned with. And, when I was, about to go to the school ball, or prom, as you Americans call it, when I was 17, a lot of my white Kiwi friends, as we call them in New Zealand, were encouraging me to take, a white Kiwi girl. There's no, oppression or, there's no discrimination against, you for just being Asian or white or whatever. People just, naturally get into relationships. I mean, for example, today I was talking to, these podcasters, before we started this podcast. I was at a department store, just walking around. I saw a very handsome white guy with a beautiful, Asian woman, and they were holding hands and walking together. And right after I passed them, I came across this very fit couple, very tall, Southern Chinese or Vietnamese dude with a, very strong Australian accent with his white Anglo-Celtic girlfriend. And, it's whoever you date. No one gives a damn fucking shit, if you're an AMWF couple
Well,
or a
yeah, man.
WMF couple.
Like you were telling me earlier that like the other day that you saw these interracial couples and they were all very good looking and they looked very happy. And that's what pretty much
Yeah,
what
looks
attraction
matched.
is. It's like if you're a good looking person, regardless of your race, you're going to be attracted to another good looking person. You know what I mean?
And
The
I
race
mean,
stuff comes after,
yeah,
you know?
I mean, there are also, obviously ugly or dysgenic people of every, racial pairing as well. That,
Hmm.
you know, there are beautiful couples and there are, aesthetically not, pleasing couples, but that's just how society is.
I mean, these
I don't, yeah,
leftists, like these woke leftists, they always say like, "Oh, you're just trying to be white. You're just trying to be white." And it's always a projection. I mean, I know a lot of people have heard this many times. Like whatever the left accuses you of is a projection, but dude, it's so fucking true.
trust me, I never knew about this topic until I stumbled across a group that I told you guys about. It's called
Yeah.
Asians Not Brainwashed by Media. This was back in 2013 when I was just in
Hmm.
my early 20s.
Yeah.
And it's just full of all these salty Asian American, mostly Chinese, but there are Korean and Vietnamese American males there. They're
Yeah. And
always
all of
salty.
those, they
Yeah.
always live like that's another thing. You know, we talked about SoCal Asians and shit, though, but
Yeah.
honestly, man, like majority of the Asians live in California, and then the rest are spread out all over the country. And
Yeah.
they usually, a lot of them make it into these like, they're like these micro minorities, you know?
Right.
And so their perception is so different from like the majority of Asians. And it's like, you don't have to be from California. Look at Matt Kim. Look at you. Like, you
Yeah.
guys live not in huge Korean communities, but at the same time, you guys are both pretty based. So there's that.
I mean, I don't know. I guess it's a matter of attitude, right?
I think it's
So,
So,
upbringing. It's definitely upbringing.
mhm.
I mean, yeah, because I mean, for me, I mean, I don't want to talk too much about my own relationships, but I've been asked out by both Korean women and white Australian women.
Hmm.
So I seriously don't understand. The reason why I didn't end up with those people was because our values, what we were looking for in life, didn't align. That's why,
Hmm.
sort of we let it go. But I seriously do not understand why all these Asian incels complain so much about who dates who and what is what. Because
Yeah.
I've never had that issue, and I'm not the most Chad guy. I'm not an alpha male, but I still get game.
This lack of social awareness of how like weak you look, you know, and how you make your people look when you nonstop post about white people and you nonstop exaggerate tales of being victimized by white people. It's like you're pretty much projecting how weak you are in real life.
Exactly, and I think
Onto social issues, yeah.
yeah, critical race theory. I think because this is what Francesca
Mm,
Hong essentially is, digging into, right? So I mean, I'll give you guys an example. I heard this a lot from my white American Anglo American friends. Is so Brahmin Indians, right? They're basically the highest level in the Hindu caste in India. When they immigrate to the United States, a lot of them become woke, and one of the reasons why they become woke and they attack white people is because they're not in that same privileged position that they were back in India. So they need to chip their way up the social ladder and chip away at the sort of dominant group so that they can actually climb their way up. And that's exactly what Francesca Hong in this particular context is doing, essentially through marriage,
Mhm.
trying to get accepted, quote unquote, accepted into white society by marrying a white man, which is
Mhm.
transactional. Correct me
taking up
wrong.
these beliefs because, you could argue that these kinds of beliefs are what we call luxury belief systems. They're in vogue, right? It's what all the HR departments and what all the media is doing. It's the new dominant culture. It's the thing that you want to signal when you want to climb up the social ladder. So, yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
I also just want to bring up too some of the copes that I've seen. I actually saw a X post not too long ago because you mentioned like Indian Americans, and it was making fun of this certain type of like Indian American woman. And of course, this is not me generalizing or anything, but there is a subset of them, and also a subset of Asian American women too, who they talk obviously constantly unsolicited about my white boyfriend, my white husband, blah 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 blah. And then they cope about it by saying this is actually like revenge for colonization. This is my revenge on Winston Churchill.
So
And oh
basically,
yeah, we're destroying the white man's bloodline
yes,
in the
exactly.
process. And I'm
I
just
think
like, can you
Francesca.
stop coping so much? Like, can you just be normal about this topic? Like, why do you guys have to talk like this? This is why this
It's
conversation is so
it's
frustrating
just
because no
desperation to be
matter what,
victims, dude. It's just
no
desperation to
matter
be
what,
victims.
you just all the weirdos just show up out of the woodwork unsolicited to just give their garbage opinions and to plaster their weird complexes
And
online
it
like some kind of exhibitionist.
it always boils down to having like a state issue wife because industrialism and capitalism, some
Oh
cope
my
fucking,
god.
some weird cope. And it's just this desperate need to be victims. They just want this, they think it's going to get them some benefits because they see what happened with other groups out here. But if you really look at it, man, do you really want overrepresentation? I mean, how I see it, a lot of this oppression or discrimination that Asians go through mostly has to do with numbers. Our numbers are just so low here. So I think naturally there's gonna be some kind of tension.
So basically, didn't Francesca also try to at one point cancel Thanksgiving? That's basically like a
She's
huge
a
holiday.
chef though, dude. She's a chef. Imagine being a
Yeah.
chef, you're gonna hate holiday season.
Right. Yeah, well, she has a lot of tweets where she just, like, completely talks shit about holidays, fireworks on the 4th of July, Christmas, Halloween. Yeah, she is just a Halloween hater, an
I mean,
HH.
but
I want to say something real quick. I want to
yeah,
cut her some slack, guys,
mm.
because
Mhm.
what I know about Wisconsin, there's not that many Koreans out there.
Oh, absolutely not.
The only Asians out there are like Hmongs. And dude,
Right.
I thought we could
Yeah.
go there.
Wisconsin actually has the 3rd highest Hmong population in America, and
Mhm.
so, yeah, I've known plenty more Hmong people from Wisconsin. Actually, I can count on only one hand the number of Koreans I've met from Wisconsin, and hey, I'm from Chicago. We're, like,
Like if
right
I
next
meet a
door to them.
Korean girl from like Oklahoma and she has a white husband, I understand. Like, the
Right.
chances of you finding a Korean guy is actually really low. So why am I
Yet
going to
alone
give
an
her some
Asian
shit?
guy.
I'm not going to call her an Oxford study or anything like that. I don't
Look,
know, man.
Well,
I
as
think
long
one.
as she's, like, normal about her relationship, there's no problem.
This is why I'm
I mean,
starting to get it now.
yeah.
I'm starting to see what these like girls are saying because it's the base girls who are saying it, who are like, I think this is just misogyny wrapped up something else, and I'm starting to see it, man. I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm starting
I
to
mean,
victimhood
get woke.
mentality, misogyny, yeah.
one of
I
our
think I'm
close
going woke,
American,
guys.
yeah, one of our close white American friends who we all know, right? I'm not going to mention his name, but
Mm-hmm.
he's also married to a Korean woman, but he's living in Korea,
And
even
Okay,
though
he's cool
he's
with
from.
us.
that's
Yeah, yeah.
different. That's
He's
different.
a
Like
fan of our
their
podcast.
kids are Korean, in my opinion.
Mm,
He's in a
He's a
Korean
normal,
household.
well-adjusted person.
yeah.
Like the mixed Koreans I know who grew up in like straight up Korean households, they're well adjusted, dude. They don't have identity issues or what. Of course they get some shit, but that's just a
Mm,
part of life, That actually
yeah.
makes you more Korean. The fact that Koreans gave you shit and you're still saying I'm Korean, that makes you hella Korean, man.
It's like
Shit.
it's a rite of passage.
Yeah. So you went through haze. It's like getting jumped in a gang.
Mm. No, my only concern with Francesca is that, by saying that they should cancel what you call Thanksgiving, she's inviting the ire of a lot of, white Americans.
The
Yeah.
Italians. You see that Soprano episode, right?
I saw on the X, comment section, talking, some guy basically got really pissed off with her and, naturally he would attack her Korean identity.
Mhm.
And he showed that video with Bobby Lee and his friend. Mad Korean, who I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
Bobby Santino, he's dope. I know who
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
talking about. The
He was
slavery
talking,
one.
yeah, the slavery thing. So I,
Slavery.
I think this is something that we have to clarify.
Yeah.
Nobi means indentured servitude or
hmm
serfdom.
Surf.
There were serfs around Europe, from Russia to the United Kingdom
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
until, the Industrial Revolution hit. And then they all just became factory workers, but their situation didn't totally improve. They got exploited. There was child labor and stuff. So, I mean, I know that a lot of, Americans or Westerners like using, Koreans had the longest period of slavery in history, but that's not actually true. And also in Korean society, you had, how should I say, great social mobility. So in certain societies like Japan, if you're born like an artisan, you would stay an artisan for the rest of your life, and that would pass on to the next
Mm,
generation. But with
mhm.
Korea, if if in times of crisis you served in the military, you can actually get out of that indentured servitude
Yeah.
and become a jungin, which is a middleman,
Mhm.
sort of the lower to upper middle class, sort of in that interim transition zone. There were a lot of people who did that, you know, during the Imjin War as well as the Manchu invasions. That's why you had the sudden explosion of people adopting surnames, which we mentioned a few episodes ago. So
Well,
that's just something that I wanted to debunk.
I just want to, address two things related to that, what you just said. I know this is a bit of a tangent, and we'll circle back to Francesca Hong later, but
Yeah.
that's what strikes out to me is that how you were mentioning social mobility being a possibility, and this was like what even during feudal Korea is what you're
Yeah.
saying. And
1500s.
meanwhile, I was thinking, feudal era Europe, yeah, it really was hard for social mobility. I mean, I think one of the striking things about the French Revolution, right? The end of the Ancien regime in France was that now it doesn't matter what your background is. That's how someone like Napoleon was able to end up becoming emperor, even
That's
though he
true.
didn't have royal ancestry. In fact,
Well,
also you see a
mm,
lot of last names, going back to surnames, a lot of last names in Europe weren't they also based on like what your family basically did? Like Müller
yeah.
is like Miller or
Yeah.
I don't know,
Baker,
yeah, Baker,
yeah. I'm trying to think of all the like Carpenter. I've met some people called Carpenter as well. Mary
right?
Carpenter. Um,
Can't forget the Carpenters too, and
oh yeah,
Sabrina
the
Carpenter.
Carpenters. Yeah, I love their music. But you also had the Black Plague, I believe. That's when there was a lot of social mobility in Europe, and that's when the
Mm.
new rich, the nouveau rich, they sort of established themselves as an aristocratic class. During the Black Plague in the 1300s, 1400s. So there was intermittent periods of social mobility, but I think with the Joseon period, especially after those two invasions from the Japanese and the Manchus, because the country went bust, that's when social mobility became even more possible by buying it as well if you had the funds, because
I also think.
you know,
Oh, go ahead.
there were very wealthy indentured servants as well.
Mm.
Some were even more wealthier than the young bun class.
I think we also have to be careful here, because the word slavery in American English has its own very charged connotation, right? People, when we think slavery, we think of transatlantic slavery.
Yeah,
Huh?
chattel slavery and all that. But
Yeah.
I was gonna ask, isn't like the Nobi that's had to do with like the criminal justice system too? Like it was your whole family could be sentenced to be Nobi if one of them fucked up, from what I've read.
Yeah, like, I mean, if you sort of lost in the factional struggle for power, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Your whole family and, related cousins and all those lines will be demoted to Nobi class
Yeah,
and
that's
exiled.
why there was an out. You could join the military or you could do something heroic and get your family status back.
Usually how you could get out was, how the northern borders of Joseon were in Manchuria, right? During Sejong's reign. So one way you could actually get out of Nobi class was if your family and you were stationed up in the border frontier with the Jurchens,
Hmm.
and if you managed to survive for a certain period of time, like let's say 2 years to 5 years, you could escape that Nobi class and become
Hmm.
Chungin,
So it's very
middleman,
different. It's not the same. Like when they say, when you think slavery, you think Kuten Kinte. It wasn't like that at all in Korea.
or Harriet
Right.
Tubman.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
wasn't like that at all,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. And definitely not racialized the way American slavery was, chattel slavery was.
What I read, like Nobis were like in ledgers as property, but at the same time they had agency, they had rights and shit. They were seen as humans. You
And if
know?
they were mistreated by their master, then that master will get in big shit from
Yeah,
the authorities.
big shit. Doing it like I saw this. Me and my son watched this like animated history short. It was about John Brown, and
Mm,
like
John Brown. Yeah.
why, like what he witnessed when he was a child. Like he befriended a slave kid, and then he witnessed that kid get murdered by the slave master, and it just made him hate slavery. And like, dude. That shit, like, I'm pretty sure something like that happened maybe a few times, but that wasn't like regular practice in our
Uh,
culture.
maybe a more apt comparison for Nobis would kind of be like what slavery in the Roman Empire,
I'm not saying they were treated good, by the way. I'm not
more
saying
so than
that
America.
Nobis were
More
treated
like
great. I'm
serfs
just
in
saying in
Russia.
comparison, I'm saying
Mm.
in comparison to like what the Americans did to blacks. I mean,
I would say
whites
it
did
would
to
be like
blacks.
serfdom in Russia or Eastern Europe.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's better.
yeah.
So, I don't know. I think the whole reason why we were talking about this is over what Thanksgiving, right?
Well, she was being attacked with that by somebody.
Yeah,
So
Yeah,
that's why
that's
we
why we
had
thanks.
to
brought that up.
deconstruct it.
I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie. I don't think running for office was probably the worst thing she could have done because just
DSA, dude. You're all
how
propped up by
how she sort of
Soros
just
and the
made
Rothschilds.
herself look like an ass in front of everybody. And it's like, look, we understand everything. Okay, she's from Madison, Wisconsin. Not many Koreans there. Oh, she's a chef, so of course she'd hate holidays. But this is all just like so optically terrible. I mean,
Yeah.
I actually saw somebody on X say that, why Zoran Mamdani, whatever you think of him or his policies or whatever he believes in, or his term as mayor, the reason why he won was because he was relatable to people and he was relatable on the things like that mattered, like affordability. So someone was actually saying, if Zoran Mamdani was being asked about Thanksgiving, what would he say compared to what Francesca said? And it struck me, it was like someone was saying, well, Zoran wouldn't be talking about canceling Thanksgiving and how much pain it brings to other people. He would be talking about, hey, people, ordinary working class people, can't afford Thanksgiving dinners like they used to. We need to make Thanksgiving more affordable. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. It reminds me too that this racial politics stuff, sure, we get worked up over it, but at the same time, most people just don't give a shit about this, you know?
No, like we were talking about this earlier, man. Like
Right.
most people do not care about politics, regardless
Mm,
of race. It's like you can
right.
see it too. You look at the general population and you look at how many vote,
Hmm.
that says it right
Right.
there.
Like being a
People
chef
just want to live.
aside,
Yeah.
like being a chef aside, most people, when they think of holidays, unless they're working those holidays, they just think of it as a time to be around other people that they love. It's to me, her complaining about Thanksgiving kind of reminds me of like a Reddit atheist like complaining about
Yeah.
Christmas. Oh,
Yeah.
why do people celebrate Christmas? It's a sky god and Jesus is not real.
We think this is sort of a Western phenomenon, but actually, even in Korea, I see it creeping in a bit because you guys know about Kechunjeol, right? That's National Foundation Day in Korea, 3rd of
Hmm.
October. Have you guys heard of it?
Of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Obviously, there's a motto or philosophy associated with that Kechunjeol, which is 홍익 인간 and 제세 이화. And I believe that was sort of introduced by Daejongyo, the religion that
Ah,
sort
the
of
religion.
venerate Tangun Wangong. And I believe Syngman Rhee actually helped incorporate that into the constitution because,
Anho
Syngman Rhee was
Sang was
very,
part of
yeah,
Daejongyo, right?
yes, Ano-san was very close with Syngman Rhee. That's why it got incorporated. But
Mhm.
recently, about 2, 3 years ago, there was some, I would say, pretty woke globalist, woke politicians in both the People's Power Party as well as the Democratic Party of Korea that tried to remove that slogan from our constitution. And there was a huge uproar from a lot of
Yeah.
Koreans because they're trying to attack the very core identity of the
Mhm.
Korean nation. And Francesca, I know she has her own reasons, but her attacking Thanksgiving could be interpreted in that same manner. Wherever you live, you need to try to respect that local society and their values. That's what I'm saying.
Mm.
I just realized that she's named after the first lady of South
Yeah,
Korea.
Yeah, I was
Francesca.
actually about to say that. Like
I'm gonna do
Francesca,
a whole episode on her, so let's not
this
talk
is
too much about her.
yeah. I was like,
Because
hold on, Francesca. This doesn't have any connection to Donner, does it? I was wondering. So okay, interesting. My suspicions were confirmed.
yeah, I'm cutting that joke out. That was corny, but
Well, it wasn't a joke. It's interesting. It's interesting.
yeah,
She literally okay. She
I
was
get
named
it. I
after
get
that.
it.
Okay. Because
But
I was thinking when I kept seeing her name popping up, the first person I thought about was literally Francesca Donner.
we get it. Will, could we stop talking about Francesca? Because I'm
All
planning
right.
to do a huge episode on her and Syngman Rhee
Okay. Got
soon.
it. Got it.
Like in the future. But I think
So
that's pretty much it.
Yeah, we
All right.
We pretty much covered this topic.
Sounds good.
All right, guys. I'll see you guys next week.
And
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see you. Big things happening next week. We're not
Yeah.
going
Big
to spoil
things.
anything, but yeah, it's going
Got
to
a
be
bit of a
nice.
surprise.
But yeah, if you enjoyed listening, please like, share, subscribe, comment. Join us on Discord, join us on Ko-Fi, and we'll see you the next time.
Later,
Over
guys.
and out.